Imagine waking up one morning, stepping outside, and sensing something's wrong. The sky is not its usual bright blue, it's dim and strangely quiet. There is no sunrise, no warmth, just a fading glow in the distance. What if I told you this is not just a story, but Earth's certain future? The sun, the source of all life, will eventually die. But what happens then? Will Earth survive? Will we? The truth is, this process has already begun, and the countdown has started. The future is more astonishing than we realize, and you won't want to miss what happens when the last light fades. Imagine looking up at the night sky, wondering about the stars, where they come from, how they shine, and what happens when they die. We have all wondered about it, but centuries ago, people didn't know the answers. They believed the sun would burn forever. Then, a few billion minds dared to ask, what if the sun won't last? Isaac Newton was the first to discover that gravity doesn't just keep us on Earth, it also stops the sun from falling apart. Later, Albert Einstein showed us that the time and space change around massive objects like stars. Then, Carl Sagan helped us understand something surprisingly. We are made of stardust because stars, like our suns, eventually die. Now we know more. NASA and European Space Agency and powerful telescopes like James Webb are studying distant stars as they reach the end of their lives, giving us a look into our own future. The facts are clear. The sun's death is not a matter of if, but when, and when that day comes, everything we know about survival could change forever. Let's take a step back and think about something we all see almost every day. The sunset. You know how the sun sets, casting beautiful colors across the sky. It feels like the sun will always rise again, right? But here's the truth. One day it won't. The sun, just like anything else in the universe, has a lifespan. Right now, it's like a giant engine, burning fuel by turning hydrogen into helium. This process keeps the sun bright and hot, but the sun's fuel isn't unlimited. In about 5 billion years, it will start to run out of fuel. And when that happens, the sun won't just explode in a huge blast. Instead, it will begin to grow much bigger, turning into what's called a red giant. It will get so big that it could swallow the closest planets like Mercury and Venus. And yes, it might even reach Earth. But don't worry, this won't happen for billions of years. Once the sun has expanded, it will shed its outer layers, creating something beautiful and strange, a glowing cloud of gas known as planetary nebula. What's left after that will be a tiny, dense object called white dwarf. It will still shine faintly, but eventually, even that will fade away over trillions of years. Now, here's something amazing. Every single atom in your body was once part of a star that lived and died long before our sun was born. Even though our sun won't go out with a big explosion, it will leave behind elements that could one day help form new stars, planets, and maybe even new life. So in a way, the end of the sun is not just destruction, it's the start of something new. The sun will eventually die, but the materials it leaves behind could create a new worlds and new possibilities. Let's take a moment to think about something we all experience, looking up at the sky. Sometimes when we do, it makes us feel small. The sky seems so vast and everything around us is always moving and changing. While we are standing still, trying to make sense of it all, we might look up and feel connected to something bigger, something timeless. But here's the truth. Everything we know, including ourselves, is temporary. Think about this. Thousands of years ago, ancient people centered their lives around the sun. It was the most important thing in their world, something they have worshipped and they depended on. They believed the sun would always be there, shining brightly. But just like everything else in the universe, the sun has a timeline, and it's not forever. Today, we know a lot more. We understand that the sun won't last forever. In about 5 billion years, it will stop burning the way it does now. The sun will grow into a red giant, an enormous star that could swallow up the planets, including Earth. Everything we have built, everything we know, will be burned up. After this, the sun will lose its outer layers, leaving behind a small, faint object called white dwarf. Over billions of years, this white dwarf will slowly cool down and become a cold, lifeless remnant known as black dwarf. It's a humbling thought, right? To realize that everything around us, even the stars we admire, has a beginning and an end. But here's the important part. Even though our time is short, everything we do matters. The love we share, the lives we touch, the legacy we leave behind. It doesn't fade as quickly as the stars. We may not be around when the sun fades away, but the impact of our lives will continue to matter even long after we are gone.